Okay, so it's Parshas Vayeitzei. Steht Vayeitzei Yaakov mi be'er shova vayelech harana. So there's a difficulty in this pasuk that it would be enough if it would say Vayelech Yaakov harana. The Vayeitzei Yaakov mi be'er shova is l'chor self-understood. The only way that you can go somewhere is if you leave where you are. Seems like Rashi has two ways to explain this. In the Dibra Maschil Vayelech Chorona, Rashi says Yotza lo leches lechoron, meaning lechora that he didn't actually go to Choron now, because we see in the next psukim that he was in Beisel, in Luz. So it's really Vayeitzei Yaakov Be'eshava Vayelech Chorona means Yotza lo leches lechoron. He embarked on the journey, but he didn't really go to Choron. The other pshat that Rashi says is Vayelech. The Rashi is, because it didn't need to say Vayeitzei Yaakov mi Be'eshava, and Rashi says that it's Lalamdecha that Yitzias Tzadik min ha Ir Oiser Roshem, that his leaving Be'eshava has significance because Bizman Tzadik Boir, Hu Hoida, Hu Ziva, Hu Hadora, Yotza Tzadik Meneir, Pona Hoida, Pona Ziva, Pona Hadora. So the Torah is telling us Vayeitzei Yaakov mi Be'eshava to teach us that his leaving of Be'eshava had an impact. Why does Rashi have two pshatim? Because the Gemara in Chulin, which Rashi later brings, says that he actually did go immediately to Choron. It's just that when he got to Choron, his Yoiv Daite, that he was over al Mokim shehispalalu boy avoisa v'lo yispalel, and therefore he went back to Beisel. So the pshat is, according to this pshat, he wasn't just the Yotzal Leches Le Choron, he was Takavayela Chorona. So Vayeitzei says that according to this pshat, Rashi says that the Vayeitzei Yaakov is lelamdecho that Yitzias Tzadik min hamokoim oiser roshim. In other words, there are two different mahalchim going on in Rashi over here, l'chora. One based on the Gemara and one without the Gemara. But the Midrash has an interesting taich. The Midrash says in Parsha Samaches, Oy Zayin, Vayeitzei Yaakov mi be'er shova mi be'ero shel shvu'o, that it means that he left the well of oath, shvu'o. Omar shelo yamoid alai Avimelech, the yoimar hishov ali, kederech shenishba li ziknecho, v'nimtzeisi mashhe besimchas bonai zayin doris. He said he left Beersheva because he didn't want to have to take an oath and make a covenant with Avimelech, who will ask him, Hishavali, kederech nishbalis keinecha, just like Avram did. And if I would do so, I would postpone the simcha, the happiness of my children for 7 generations. So that's the Be'er Shova, is Be'ero Shel Shvuah. This comes on the heels of what the Midrash said earlier in Parsha Nun Daled Daled, that when Avram was Nishba to Avimelech, that held back Klal Yisrael's entrance into Eretz Yisrael for 7 generations. Because from Avram until the kibush of Sichon V'Oig through Moshe Rabbeinu, there were 7 generations. In the Matnas Kuhn in Parsha Samaches, he has 2 mahalchim in explaining what exactly was nitoisiv by Yitzchak's shvuah. So, l'chora, if we see that the shvuos that Avram and Yitzchak made to Avimelech were masheh b'simchas bonai, held back the entrance of Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, obviously it tells us, l'chora, it tells us that this was the wrong thing to do. So we need to understand, how is it that Avram and Yitzchak did so? And why is it that Dafke Yaakov figured out that this is the wrong thing, and therefore he was Vayeitzei Yaakov mi be'er shova. He left the Be'ero shel shvuah. And we also need to understand what's the particular shaykhs between these shvuos and Klal Yisrael's entrance into Eretz Yisrael. So, the Pasuk says, Vayavoid Yaakov berochel sheva shonim, v'goymer, Vayihi ba'erev, Vayikach es Leo bitoy, Vayovei oiso olov, elov. And then Vayihi ba'boiker, it turns out, he finds out that it's Leah. So it says in the Midrash Rabbah in Parsha Ayin, Ois Yud Zayin, V'chol ahu lelia, that the entire night, Havet soiveach lo Rochel, he was calling her Rochel, Rochel, v'hi anulei, and she responded to being called Rochel, in spite of the fact that she was Leah. In the morning, when he saw that she's Leah, Omar lo Rami Yosa bas Ramo, you're a swindler, a cheater, a liar, the daughter of a swindler. Lav Belelia have a Karina Rochel Va'atonisli. Was I not calling you all night Rochel and you were responding? Omrolei, she said to him, Loi kach havet sovach loch avuch Esav Va'atonisli. Didn't your father Yitzchok call you Esav and you responded to him? So I was doing the same thing. But Avada, we should understand that this conversation between Leah Imenu and Yaakov Avinu wasn't just a cheap conversation where he's accusing her of being a Ramah Bas Ramiyosa, and she's telling him you did the same thing. So what is this really about? What is this really about? It says, Vayoyme Yaakov Eloviv, Anoichi Esav B'choyrech. So, Be'emes, after everything that Chazal say, that it's not mamish a blatant lie because it's Anoichi and Esav B'choyrech, or some other ways, but it's still concealing the truth. How is it possible that Yaakov Avinu, who is Titein Emes Yaakov, he's the pillar of truth? I mean, he should use such methods, and that this behavior is actually what was the key to our receiving the brachas from Yitzchak Avinu. It's a little bit hard to understand. And it is another thing, the ikir that Yitzchak really wanted to give the brachas to Esav is hard to understand. I mean, why did he want to give the brachas to Esav? Well, it says in the pasuk, "If Vayigdalu hanaorim, Vayihi Esav ish yoidei atzayid ish soda, v'Yaakov ish tam yoishiv aholim." So they grew up, and Esav was ish yoidei atzayid. Yeah, he was a man who understood hunting. He was a man of the field, and Yaakov was a dweller of tents. Yeah, Vayehav Yitzchok es Esav kitzayid befiv, v'Rivke oiheves es Yaakov. So Yitzchok Avinu, loves Esav because his game is in his mouth, and Rivka is the one that loves Yaakov. So it's really hard for us to understand that Yitzchok Avinu, Aves Hein Hamerkava, should make such a mistake and think that Esav is the one that should get the brachas. Esav was mefarches lotzeis lebote avodah zora b'mei imoy, and the tzayid befiv misleads Yitzchok Avinu. The Gemara says in Nidid Daf Tezayin, Dorish Reb Chanina bar Papa, Oisoi Malach HaMemuna al HaHiroyim, the angel that's in charge of conception. Lilo Shmoy, or Lilo Shmoy. V'noitel Tipo, he takes the seed, Umamido L'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He presents it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'oim elafon of Rebbeinu Shalom, Tipo zu mate he'aleh. What will evolve from this Tipo? Gibor, Oicholosh. Will he be strong? Will he be weak? Chacham tipish? Will he be smart? Will he be foolish? Ashir ayani? Will he be rich? Will he be poor? V'ilu tzaddik v'rosha like Omer. Tzaddik v'rosha he doesn't say. Kidir Reb Chanina. Damar Reb Chanina hakol b'dei shamayim chutz miyira shamayim shenema va'ato Yisrael mo Hashem alakecha shamayim machkiim liyira. So everything is predetermined in terms of Gibor Eicholosh, Ashir ayani, Chacham tipish. The only thing that's not determined is tzaddik or rasha. That's something that is the personal choice of the child that will be born. So, what is the deal that Esav, Vayisroitetzu habonim bekirbo, and Rashi says that Esav, when she passed Bate Avodah Zarah, he was mefarches lotzeis. He was trying to get out and go to the Bate Avodah Zarah, and Esav and Yaakov was mefarches lotzeis when she passed Bate Knesiyos and Bate Midrashis. The lechora, I mean, a ubar b'mei imoy has no bechira, and since the tzaddik v'rosha is not predetermined, so how could it be that Esav is going to the Bati Avodah Zarah and Yaakov is going to the Bati Midrashis already b'mei imo? You know, in Bava Basra Daf Tezayin, the Gemara says, Omar Rav, Bikesh Eoiv lifter es kol oilam kuli minadin. Eoiv had a suggestion, he had a mahalach, he had a way to pater everyone from Midas Hadin. Amal Afan of Rebbeinu Shalom, Barosa Shoir, Parsois of Slukos. You created an ox. He has cracked hooves. Chamor, Parsois of Klutois. Yeah, the donkey he has steep hooves. Barosa Gan Eden. Barasa Gehenim, Barasa Tzadikim, Barasa Rishoim, Mi Ma'akav Yotcha. I mean, you're in charge of everything. Just like you make a shor, Parsois of Zdukos, and a Chamor, Parsois of Klutois, so also you make Tzadikim, you make Rishoim, and therefore nobody should be held responsible for the life he lives because it's all decided by the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what Yoiv was suggesting. Liftes kol olam kulam min adin. Umaya hadru lechavre. So what did his friends say back to him? They said, Bora Kodesh Baruch Hu Yeitzei Hara, Bora loy Torah tavlin. It's true HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Yeitzei Hara, but he created Torah as a tavlin to the Yeitzei Hara. L'chayre, what's b'chlal the question on the Taina of Iv? I mean, didn't the Gemara say in Nida that Tzaddik v'Rosha like Omar? It's only Giborei Cholosh, Asher Ayoni, Chachamay Tipish, but Tzaddik v'Rosha like Omar. So how is Eiv saying Barosa Tzaddikim, Barosa Rishonim? It's not true. And even his friends, they didn't answer that either. They just said that with Torah one can overcome his Yeitzei Hara, but they didn't say that there's no such a thing as Barosa Tzaddikim, Barosa Rishonim. So it must be that when the Gemara says in Nida that Tzaddik v'Rosha loika Omar, that means that everybody has a choice to move in this direction or that direction. He has a choice. What Eiv is saying that Barosa Tzaddikim, Barosa Rishonim means that there are people that are born with a predisposition to be a tzaddik, and some people are born with a predisposition to be a Rasha. But nevertheless, his friends answered him that doesn't pat him in adin because there's a Barosi lo Torah tavlin. Yeah, and so it's mavur barichas in the Sefer Hatanya and Perik Aleph and Perik Chav Zayin. In the Shmoyne Prokim, there's a something about this in Perik Vov. So it means, in other words, the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't create tzaddikim and rishonim. He does create people that have a leaning towards evil, and he does create people that have a leaning towards good. But everybody has choice. You can go this way or that way, and that's the answer of Barasi Yeitzei Hara, Barasi Loy Torah Tavlin. So that would explain the Vayisroitetzu habonim. Yaakov was created in the mode of Barasa Tzadikim, and therefore b'mei he was mefarches latzeis lebati midrashis. Esav was created in the mode of Barasa Rishonim, and therefore he was mefarches latzeis lebati avodah zarah. And therefore Yaakov, the ish tam Yoshev Aholim, is taka removed from the dealings of Olam Haseh, because his avodah is an avodah of Barasa Tzadikim. He's not involved in gashmias of this world. He's not getting involved in remaking and in elevating the physical world and transforming evil into good. That's not part of his Seder Avodah. He's a ish tam yoshev oholim. On the other hand, Esav is the ish yoidei atzayid ish soda, because his mission is the mission of Barasa Rishon. His mission is to be in a constant war with the challenges of real life, like they call it, outside of the Aholim. And his avodah is to elevate the physical world and to transform evil into good. And that's why the svara really is that the brachas that are all about Olam hazeh v'yiten l'cha Elokim mitala shamayim u'mishmana yoretz. The brachas that Yitzchak Avinu was going to give should be given to Esav, the ish soda, so that he should be able to use all these kalim to fulfill his mission. But Esav failed in fulfilling his mission, and he was bomin hasoda oyef, as Rashi says, what he did. And therefore, Yaakov bought the Bechorah from him. Now that Yaakov bought the Bechorah, so Yaakov also took over the mission of Esav. Yaakov is no longer just an Ish Tam Yoshev Aholim. Yaakov now also wears the hat of the Ish Soda. And therefore, Yaakov puts on the big day Hatzayid of Esav. And he says, Anoichi Esav B'chayrecha, because that's the truth now. Yaakov Avinu now is also the Esav B'chayrecha, because he now has both avodas, because since Esav failed in the avodah of Ish Yoidei Atzayid Ish Soda, so now Yaakov Avinu is also the Esav B'ncha B'chayrecha. And as we see in the parasha, it says, Vayova Yaakov min hasoda. In Kapitel Lamed, Pasuk Tazayin, wie soll ich steht dort? Vayova Yaakov min hasoda. Now, what's the Lashon HaPasuk? Vayova Yaakov min hasoda. Bo'erev, v'teitze le'elik rosai. V'toymei leitov, v'kisoches zechaticha. What do you mean Vayova Yaakov min hasoda? Wasn't Yaakov an Ish Tam Yoshev Aholim? It was Esav that was the Ish Yoidei Atzayid Ish Soda. Yaakov shouldn't be in the Soda. The Teretz says that if the Yaakov bought the Bechorah, he took over also the Avodah of Esav, and Yaakov is now also in the Soda. Also in the Soda. The Pasuk says, Ve'enei Leah Rakois. Yeah, Leah's eyes were tender. Rashi says, Shehoisa Svuro Lalois Bigoyroloi Shel Esav Ubachsa. She thought that she was going to have to marry Esav, and she cried. Everyone said, Shnei banim l'Rivka, u'shnei banis l'Lavan. Rivka has two sons, Lavan has two daughters, Hagdoilo l'Godel, V'aktana l'Kotna, and therefore Leah is going to marry Esav. It's a Gemara in Bava Basra Daf Kuf Chav Gimel, but it's Mavur in the Midrash, in Parsha Ayin Tes, that it's not just a people set, so it was really meant to be. It says over there, Omar Avone, Kosha hi atfila, shebitla es gzeira. Tefillah is very powerful. It was Mavatal the Gzeira, it was Mavatal the decree, which was that Leah should marry Esav. So it was decreed. But the Tefillah was Mavatal the Gzeira. That she married Yaakov even before her sister. So the pshat is that Leah was really meant to be the Eza Kenegdoi, the helpmate to the Avodah of Ish Soda, the Avodah of Esav. Rachel was meant to be the Eza Kenegdoi for the Avodas Ishtam Yoshev Aholim of Yaakov Avinu. But now that by buying the Bechorah and the Brachis, Yaakov Avinu is also tasked with the Avodah of Ish Soda, so Leah is also shaykh to Yaakov because he now has both hats. So that's what she's saying to Yaakov. I responded to Rachel, to the name Rachel, because Loi kach tzavach loch avuch Esav va'ata nislei. In other words, just like Yaakov said to Yitzchak that he's Esav. Why? Because he's now also responsible for the Esav dika avoide, since Esav failed in carrying out his mission. So for the same reason, Leah is meant to be his wife, because Leah is Esav's wife, and now Yaakov Avinu is also doing the Avodah of Esav. This idea appears in the Avodas Yisrael from the Koshnetz Hamagid, and even earlier in earlier sources. Now, Avram was Yotza Mimenu Yishmo. Yitzchok was Yotza Mimenu Esav. So, but Yaakov is the first of the others that was Mitasai Shleima. All his children were tzaddikim, and from Yaakov and on, the halacha is that Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael. That there's no way out of the Jewish people anymore. According to what we just said, it would seem that Yaakov, since his avodah includes both kavim, both mahalchim in avodas Hashem, the mahalach of barasa tzadikim and the mahalach of barasa rashoim, so the Ra is also part of Yaakov Avinu's seder avodah to rid himself of Ra and to elevate the Ra. So therefore, nobody falls out anymore. Therefore, Afal Pishachata Yisrael, and therefore from Yaakov and on, it's Mitasei Shleima. Now, in the Mahalach HaDoros, the Dor HaMidbar was surrounded by Anani HaKovid, and they ate Mon Min HaShamayim, and they drank Mei Be'er, and everything about them was outside of the laws of nature. So that's the Bechina of a Ish Tam Yoshev Oholim. But the Dor Boy Haaretz, the Dor that came into Eretz Yisrael, they began to V'asafta Degonecha, V'sirosh Chavi Yitzorecha. Their avodah is the avodah of Ish Sadeh, the tikkun and the birur of Olam Hazeh, elevating the Gashmias of this world. So just like Yaakov Avinu spent 14 years in the Beis Medrash of Shem Ve'ever before he began the avodah of Ish Sadeh in Lavan's house. So also Yidden were makdim 40 years in the Midbar before they started the Va'asafta Digonecha, the avodah in Eretz Yisrael, the Va'asafta Digonecha. In other words, the Dor HaMidbar, that parallels the Beis Midrash Shel Shem Ve'ever. And the Dor Boy Haaretz, that parallels the avodah of Ish Sadeh that Yaakov Avinu had in Lavan's home, and that's the avodah of Asafta the Gonech of Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. Now, just like in the Seder Adoros of Klal Yisrael, so it was also in the Seder of the three Avos, because Maaseh Avos Simen Labonim. So the avodah of Avram and Yitzchak was really to disengage and to separate themselves from this world. The avodah of Barasa Tzadikim, per se. And therefore, Yishmael and Esav fell out, and they were gone. And that's why Avram and Yitzchak took an oath, and they made a covenant with Avimelech, because what is the covenant? That I'll mind my business, you mind your business. I will not interfere with you. You won't interfere with me. I won't try to influence you. You won't try to influence me. Right? And that was enough in order for Avram and Yitzchak to be able to establish their Daled Amis and be who they're meant to be. Because their avodah was the avodah of Barasa Rishon, the avodah of just the avodah of Yoshev Aholim. And they just shouldn't be bothered. Masha'enke Yaakov Avinu, whose avodah includes also the avodah of Ish Sadeh, which is the Tikkun Olam, he can't make a bris and a shvur with Avimelech because he doesn't accept the world as is, and he can't agree not to fight against evil and not to worry about Tikkun Olam, and therefore. The Shavuos of Avram and Yitzchak were part of their Seder Avodah, and that parallels the Seder Avodah of Klal Yisrael until they entered Eretz Yisrael. As we said, that the B'china of the Dor HaMidbar is the B'china of Ish Tam Yoshev Aholim. So it's not really a oynish, it's not a punishment for the Shavuos that Klal Yisrael waited those 7 generations to enter Eretz Yisrael. It parallels those Shavuos. In other words, those Shavuos were made because those shvuos need to be made when the avodah is separation and establishing an independent identity. But when it comes to the point when Yaakov Avinu comes into play, and Yaakov Avinu is not only the Ish Tam Yoshev Olam, but he's also the Ish Sadeh, then it's not a time to make a shvuah, because then it's not mind your own business. It's really you have to mind everybody's business, and therefore that if Yaakov Avinu would make the shvuah, Klal Yisrael wouldn't be able to go into Eretz Yisrael in the proper time. And therefore, Yaakov Avinu is Vayeitzei Yaakov mi be'er shova. He exits the be'ero shel shvur because he knows that if he's going to make a shvur, nimtza and he mashe b'simchas bonai another 7 generations. Another 7 generations. So, I mean, it's all about, I mean, are we tolerant? Are we not tolerant? I mean, so the truth of the matter is, we're very patient, but we're not tolerant because, in Hebrew, they have this word sovlanut, which they use for tolerance. But I would say that sovlanut is the opposite of savlanut because really, if you're impatient, you have to accept everything. But if you have patience, you can wait it out and you could work towards the goal of changing what's around you and not accepting it. There's a pasuk in Micha. It's interesting because there's a pasuk in Micha that sounds like a very liberal pasuk. It says in the pasuk in Micha, Kapitel Daled, pasuk Hey, ki kol ha'amim yelchu ish b'shem Elohov, v'anachnu nelech b'shem Hashem Elokeinu lo'olam v'od. So all the nations go in the name of their gods, and we go in the name of Hashem Elokeinu lo'olam v'od. But the Targum says, Ari kol amamaya yehochun la'avadoin, al diplochu l'ta'avosa, that all the nations will go to avadoin. Yeah, Rashi, they will. How would you translate avadoin? Well, I hope you know what it means. Now, yelchu ish b'shem Elohov, v'anachnu nelchu b'shem Hashem Elokeinu lo'olam v'od. So the pshat is like this: that we be'emes are in charge of bringing about that everybody should be makabel the Rebbeinu Shalom. Like in our Kabbalah Malchut Shemayim, we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Hashem Elokeinu Shu Elokeinu Achshav is going to be the Elokei of everybody, and that's really something that we are in charge of working towards. But the pshat is avada, not in a way that's ineffective, but in a way that is effective. So avada, if you you have to have the patience and you have to have the approach and you have to know how to influence. And influence is not only Yidden, but it's influencing everyone. That's why Yaakov Avinu doesn't make a shvuah, because we can't make a shvuah. We can't accept and tolerate the ra and the wrong. We can't accept that. But we are in charge of bringing about a tikkun olam b'malchus shakai. Okay, listen, Rabbi Vayeitzei, I think I'm going to wish you a good Shabbos.